Yo guys, what is good and welcome back on the channel. Now in today's video we're going to do something a little bit different to what I usually do on my channel. And I'm going to review the Focusrite Scarlett 18i20 Gen 4 audio interface for you. So I'm going to show you my unboxing experience and give you all the general information about the audio interface. Then I'm going to talk about the changes to the last generation, to Gen 3. And right after that, I'm going to set the thing up and talk you through my experience with, drivers, audio quality, as well as the software package that's provided with the audio interface. I also tested the new air modes, the audio gain functionality and the save mode on my voice and on my grand piano. And in the end, I'm going to come to a conclusion where I sum it all up and give you my final thoughts. Now, if you're only interested in a certain aspect, I provided timestamps down below so you can jump between the different chapters. But now, let's get straight into it. Now, while you're watching me unbox the interface, I'm going to skip through the main features of this interface. I'm not going to go into detail here because you can read all of this stuff online if you want. The Focusrite 18i20 Gen 4 is basically an audio interface with 8 inputs with XLR and TRS combo jacks, and 10 outputs through TRS, and it's expandable through ADAT and SPDIF to 18 inputs and 20 outputs. That's where the name's coming from. It has 122 dB of dynamic range and 8 Scarlett microphone preamps for the 8 inputs. It has the classic air mode as well as a new one called Presence and Harmonic Drive, which I'm gonna demo you later in the video. And it also features a talkback microphone that you can use in studio sessions, etc, etc. It also adds the new audio gain and clip save functionality that we're gonna test on later on as well. The whole audio interface is a 19-inch rack format, and it also comes with rack ears. It also comes with the Hitmaker Expansion software bundle from Focusrite, which we're gonna check out in a minute. Now, the most changes compared to, the third generation are quality of life. So we have an updated LED meter and not only 8 LED meters for the input, but also 2 for the output. We also have individual 48 volt phantom power per track and the audio gain functionality and save mode. Now, the biggest change is probably on the front, where before there were 8 different knobs to control the input volume of each individual input. And now there's just 8 selectors to select a channel and 1 endless encoder that allows to adjust the volume of one track at a time. This allows for more functionality per track on the hardware itself, but it also means that you can't control 2 volume levels of 2 inputs at the same time. I'm going to talk about this issue a little bit later on in the video. We now have 8 physical inputs on the back and 2 on the front, which means that input 1 and 2 are doubled, and if you plug in something on the front of the unit, the inputs on the end are that. I think this is a super useful upgrade for people that use this in rack format. I'm gonna talk about this later on. The audio interface also features the new Gen 4 Scarlett preamps, but I can't really tell you much about the difference compared to the third gen on these. On paper they look pretty similar, just with small improvements on the third gen. Besides this, there's really just a huge difference in price, with the Gen 3 only being around 450 euros on the market right now, and the Gen 4 being around 700 euros. Now let's move forward to the setup process. Now on my PC this was super straightforward. I just plugged the unit in, it took me to a website where I could download the Focusrite Control 2 software that you need in order to update drivers and stuff. It installed the software without any issues, updated the drivers, updated the unit, everything went smooth and I had no issues at all. Now I would have left it right there if I didn't test this on my grand piano as well. Because for this I needed to install the Focusrite Control 2 software on my laptop. And I downloaded it and I had the unit already plugged in. And when I opened the installer, it worked up to like 99%, and then I just got a blue screen and my laptop crashed. It restarted the computer and now the installation was broken, so I couldn't uninstall it, and installing it again didn't work either. The drivers just didn't work. After some troubleshooting and looking up solutions online, I had to go through a third-party software uninstaller that uninstalled all data that was previously installed by the Focusrite Control 2 installation that were broken. And I then reinstalled it with the unit not plugged into my laptop, and it worked without any issues from there. I'm not really sure what happened right there and why my laptop blue screened, which I, by the way, never had before with the laptop. I hope this is something that Focusrite might be able to fix in future updates, but for the moment I had 1 clean installation and 1 failed. Now besides the installation, I would wish for a little bit more customizable experience inside the Focusrite Control 2. So for example, I would love to change the way the LED meters look and interact, or maybe even the colors of them. Now while this is not a necessity to have, this would definitely set apart this audio interface from its competitors, but maybe that's just me. Now let's quickly go over the unit. So on the front we have the 2 XLR and 1/4 inch combo jacks that are input 1 and 2. We have the 8 selectors for the 8 different channels that, select what channel you're actually controlling. We then have the endless encoder for the input volume, a link button which allows to link 2 channels together to a stereo pair, super useful, the 48 volt phantom power, the line instrument switch, and underneath the audio gain, save mode and air mode knobs. Next to this are the 8 input meters as well as the 2 output meters for channel left and right, an alt button which allows to switch to another pair of studio monitors, a dim button which reduces the outgoing signal by 18 dB, so you know, if you have the volume loud in your studio and you want to talk to somebody, it reduces the volume for this. It also has an output button which changes the 8 input meters to be 8 output meters to, you know, check the volumes of the corresponding outputs, the mute button which just mutes the main output, and the output volume control with the second Anthos encoder. Right next to this is the talkback button that you have to configure inside Control 2 to select the channel that's going to, because obviously you don't want to have the signal of the talkback just going to this main out, but rather to your headphones or something. And the microphone for the talkback is located between the left and right input on the front. Now the last two important things on the front are the 2 headphone preamplifiers, so you have individual volume control for 2 headphones as well as the 1/4 inch jack to plug these in, as well as the in and out switch far on the right. Now, if we go to the back of the unit, we have the main AC connection and an USB-C output to connect this unit to your PC. Right next to this is the SPDIF in and out, which allows to connect to another preamp with up to 8 inputs and outputs, the word clock to sync with other devices, 2 optical ins and outs each, and MIDI in and out to use this as a MIDI interface and connect devices via MIDI to your DAW. Then we have the 10 outputs, output 1 and 2 being reserved for the main output, and channel 3 and 4 reserved for the alt output if you want to use this. Make sure that you have the right cables because all of the outputs are TRS, so I actually had to order new cables in order to connect these to my studio monitors just because I didn't have balanced TRS cables. Now last but not least, we also have the 8 inputs that are TRS and XLR combo jack, so you can plug in both XLR as well as 1/4 inch cables into these. Now the software package that you get with the 18i20 Gen 4 is exactly the same as what you're getting with the smaller interfaces, so this is probably not the reason why you're getting such a big interface, but if you're just starting out and you already need such a big interface or you're buying one of the smaller ones, this is definitely a great addition. So in there we have 3 different DAWs, so we have Ableton Live Intro, which is pretty limited, but still, it's Ableton Live if you want to get into that. It also has a 20% off coupon for all upgrades from Ableton Live Lite. You also get 6 months of FL Studio for free, as well as Pro Tools Intro Plus for Focusrite. I haven't tested that one out personally, but if you want to get your foot in the door with Pro Tools, this is probably a great addition. It also comes with some audio effects, so I'm just going to read them to you. We have the Clive Grant Essentials Bundle, Antaros Auto-Tune Access with a perpetual license, and Auto-Tune Unlimited with a 3-month trial. It also has the Relab LX480 Reverb, the Brainworks BX console, the Red plugin suite, as well as 2 months of Blender Studio plus 5 free masters. I wouldn't call any of these plugins being essentials or something, but if you're getting this audio interface, you might just download them and try them out. Same goes for these instruments, so we have the XLN Audio Addictive Keys Studio Grand, the XLN Audio Addictive Drums 2, and Native Instruments Massive. It would be really cool to have Massive X in here instead of Massive, but that's just how it is. On top of this, you're getting 3 months of Splice for free, and the Focusrite drum track sample pack. Make of this whatever you want. Now with all this technical info out of the way, I would say it's time to dive into our audio test. Now the first setup was exactly the same as what I have right now. I had the Shure MV7X plugged into the interface, and I tested the standard recording, the air mode, as well as the new air mode with presence and drive. I then also wanted to try recording an instrument with this, so I sampled my piano. For recording the piano, I used these Behringer C2 condenser mics in a stereo pair. Now while they might not sound the best, I think the sound quality is good enough to compare the air modes and see what they do to the signal, and also to test out the auto gain and save mode, which I also did. Now personally, with the first test, I really liked how my voice sounded with the air mode activated, which is also the reason why I'm recording this video right now with the 18i20 on with air mode activated. I found that the air mode plus presence is just a little bit too much. It really doesn't sound that great on my voice. The same goes for the second test. I think that the air mode really adds a bunch of clarity to the piano sound and really touches the sound up in a great way, while the air mode plus presence sounds better than on my voice. it still is just a little bit too much in my opinion. Obviously, this is really up to taste, and everyone has a different taste, and it also really heavily depends on what you're recording and what your microphone and setup is sounding like. But at least for me, I found that the air mode is really a great addition, but the new air mode with presence added is just a little bit too much, and I would prefer doing adjustments like this inside my DAW after the recording and not have it burned into the recording itself. Now, the auto gain functionality works perfect whether it's on my voice or on the grand piano. You just hit the auto gain button and speak or, play as loud as you think you're gonna play, and it's then gonna set the levels to something a little bit quieter than what I would set it. And even if you play or talk a little bit louder than what you did when in the sound check, it's still not gonna clip in any way. Now, this is a different story with the save mode. So, to test this, I purposely set the levels a little bit higher than it should be. And I started, talking and playing really quietly, and then gradually increased the volume in order to give the save mode function the option to, gradually decrease the input volume in order to prevent the audio from clipping. Now, instead of doing this, all it did was, once the volume hit 0 dB once, it instantly took down the input volume by a few dB, which not only didn't prevent clipping because the audio still clipped at that very, very second, but it also meant for a really harsh decrease in volume, and it would be something that's not as easy to fix in post. It really makes the recording sound not that natural. I'm gonna play you a clip of this right here. Now, the big upside of this is that it still saves the rest of the recording, so if you for some reason adjusted the volume after soundcheck, if you even forgot to set the levels correctly, it's going to prevent the whole audio from just being clipped and unusable, but it still isn't an excuse to not set your levels properly, because you still have that ugly pop in there, and it's really not a replacement for, setting your volume. Now, while I'm not 100% satisfied with this feature, it still does what it's supposed to do. And because I think it's 100% on the software side, it could be even improved with future updates of the unit. Now, as we come to the end of this review, I just want to talk about my experience using this. So, as I explained at the beginning, the setup was pretty easy and straightforward on both of my devices, with my laptop just crashing while installing the drivers. So I have a little bit of a mixed feeling about this. It definitely works, and I never had any issues with the unit after installing the drivers and updating it, but it's still something that has to be fixed in my opinion. The unit itself feels super premium, it's made out of metal, and the buttons are clicky, and the encoders run pretty smooth. I really like this. Also, I'm not gonna lie, the look of the unit is just amazing, at least compared to older gens or the competitors. These new LED meters really make this thing look modern. Now, as far as the sound goes, it sounds pretty good. I don't have any complaints about this. And it's pretty much what I expected from a unit like this. Clean preamps, really good sound, clean AD converter. Me personally, I'm also a fan of the one control for all the channels thing. So I much prefer to have all the buttons available to do all the things on the hardware for every single channel, and only have one encoder for all the channels as well. And that's because I'm sitting in my studio right here. Now, if you're looking for an interface that you can also use to, let's say, record a band live, this might be a little bit of a different story, because then you only can adjust the volume of one channel at a time, and you also have to look at the meter to see what level you're at already. So adjusting two channels at the same time, or just blindly reaching over to your audio interface and adjusting a channel won't work, because you have to see that you're on the correct channel, and you also have to see what level you're already at. So while this looks really clean and is more convenient, at least for me, it might be a different story if you're planning on recording live. Now, I know the two things that are kind of like a question mark for me, and the first being is that the unit takes like a good 10 or 15 seconds just to fully turn on, and also clicks during this process. So I never had a Focusrite interface before. I'm not sure if they all do it, and I suppose that this is just normal. It's just something to be aware of, You don't turn the unit on and you have sound instantly, and you also shouldn't be afraid with the clicky noises coming from it. Also, the amp of the unit is not that loud. So before, I had the Behringer Control 2 monitor controller, and I rarely set this one to 12 o'clock even. But with this one, if I want to turn the volume up, I really have to push the volume and turn it up like almost all the way. So it still gives me plenty of headroom and volume, but it's just something to be aware of, that if your speakers need a lot of power, you might want to buy an active monitor controller and set this between this unit and your speakers. There were also two things that I didn't really like. First being that there's no mute button on the inputs, and this is really a thing when I'm using this for streaming or just, even gaming with my friends. Because when somebody walks in the room, I just want to be able to quickly mute a channel, and I think that other people might find this really useful as well, just being able to mute channels on the unit itself. Unfortunately, there is no other option than just turning down the input volume, but this of course means that you have to adjust it after turning it up again. The second issue that I noted is that the input encoder only works in 3 dB steps. So when I turn it up, it goes from 3 dB to 6 dB to 9 dB to 12 dB. The resolution is just not there. I can't change this on the Focusrite Control 2 software either. And I had instances where I wanted to set the level of my mic exactly between the 3 dB spots that it gave me. And I wanted to have it, instead of at 12 dB, I wanted to have it at 13, for example. And you can adjust the levels of the unit freely on your Focusrite Control 2 software. And the encoder that selects the output volume for the master also works in 1 dB steps. So I think there would be definitely an option to change this in a software update and at least give users the option to choose whether they want to have a higher or lower resolution on the input volume. Personally, I would prefer to have changes only 1 dB steps, just to have a higher resolution and to fine-tune my input volume to the point where I need it. Now let's come to our conclusion and really sum up the pros and cons of this unit. Now the pros are that this unit is really fully featured. It sounds good, it looks good, it feels premium, and it has a lot of practical upgrades from the 3rd gen that just make your quality of life easier, while also improving the audio quality by a bit. Now you have to decide for yourself whether or not you like the new layout, and if you prefer this over having individual volume control for each channel. And besides this, the unit really has no downsides if you know what to expect. I noted a few things that I didn't like, but all of them are either up to my preferences or something that Focusrite can and should change in a future software update. And if they fine-tune this unit a little bit more, there's really no downsides to it besides the price. And this is the biggest issue I really have with this thing. The price, and especially the price difference to the 3rd gen. So at the moment you can get the 3rd gen for around 450 euros street price, brand new on the market. Compared to this, the 4th gen is super expensive with its 700 euros. Now assume that the 3rd gen is going out of production soon, if it hasn't already, and the unit either disappearing or the price even increasing for the last units being sold, as well as the 4th gen prices falling over the years, but at least at the moment where you can still choose between these two and there's a 250 euro price gap, you should definitely think twice if the new features are something that you need. Because at the end, both of them have 8 inputs and 10 outputs and a really good sound quality and do pretty much the same thing. Just that the new one is a little bit updated, has some quality of life improvements that maybe they're crucial to you, then go for it. But if you just need the inputs and the outputs, I would probably go with the 3rd gen for now. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know if you have any questions or suggestions for this channel. See you guys in the next video. Bye.